seems when a man and woman have sex, it seems that according to the man, he's getting sex, but he's not really giving anything. He can't conceive of himself as giving anything to the woman. He's always paying for it, and he thinks this is fine. That's my door, but let me just finish.
When a woman has in more ways than one, pal. Well, you're really in bad shape, Joe.
No, Bob,
you have a warped outlook on the relations between man and women.
Let me just finish.
You keep talking about paying for it. What do you just go to hookers all the time?
No, I'm telling you, the average woman demands that a man pay for her, doesn't she?
Really?
Of course.
Well, maybe I have met different women.
Come on, Bob. You know you always have to pay for women. In fact, most men, almost all men nowadays, are still paying for women.
Are you kidding? Listen, there are a lot of guys who are leeching off of women like there's no tomorrow.
Very few. Bob, what I just wanted to conclude with is that when a woman has sex, she views it as she's giving of herself.
Are you married?
No.
I didn't think so. Have you ever been married?
No.
I didn't think so.
Well, I'm kind of intelligent, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Look at the divorce.
I tell you why you're intelligent, because you never had children.
Well, I do have a child, Bob. That's
really?
Yeah. Well, let me just finish.
Wait a minute. You've never been married. You have a child.
Well, you see, this is the point here again. When a man and woman have sex, who's vulnerable? Who's at risk? The man is at risk, not the woman, because the woman can decide whether to have an abortion or not, like I keep telling everybody. And with the woman I was going with lied to me, decided to have the child, stuck me for child support, and then gave me the child. So again, it's the man who oppressed.
It's your child. You act as though you didn't want it.
Well, in other words, what about Bob? You're pro-choice. How do you feel about all the women that don't want their children and have abortions and kill them? How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't consider abortion murder. If I did consider it murder, I would be against it.
Well, in other words...
You're a gobbo. Get off my phone. You're a jerk, a sick jerk. What am I wasting my time with you for?
Bob, I'd like to preface my remarks by praising you and your screener, Mike.
Yeah, what are you going to say about women today, Joe?
Well, it's, tied in with the Kimberly...
I mean, you talk about a one-issue guy. That's you, Joe.
Yeah, but...
Why don't you go out and make it with some chickie-poo so you can stop this obsession with hating women?
But it's not... You see, the issue is not me, Bob. The issue is that nobody else besides...
Hey, you know, there are a lot of hard-up broads out there that you could make it with, Joe.
Well, Bob, I welcome any broad, as you put it, to approach me. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the day when women will have the guts to approach a guy as a...
Hey, I know a fellow who's a great travel agent. Women are approaching him all the time. He has to beat them off with baseball bats.
Oh, they're approaching him? Why is that?
Well, he has no time for them. He's a happily married man. He's not interested, but he's got to beat them off all the time.
Well, he must be enticing them with something. I don't know.
Well, I tell you, he's flamboyant. He's debonair, and he's probably the best dancer this side of the cucaracha.
I see all the characteristics that they condemn when they decide to get a little bit perturbed at you. They all of a sudden call that man a womanizer and turn on him. But I'm not like that. I'm an honest, down-to-earth, straight shooter, and I don't do any kind of dance for them. And I guess that's why they're not interested in the decent guys like me. Bob, if I could make the point about Kimberly Mays, I think that this case to me highlights and emphasizes the plight of fathers, non-custodial fathers, when it comes to divorce, custody battles, and visitation battles. It seems to me two things. Number one, if they're going to take the view of Kimberly Mays, her opinion, as carrying weight now, and all 14-year-old children as carrying weight, then it seems to me maybe they should do this in all custody battles and visitation conflicts. And maybe
wait a minute.
Yeah,
First of all,
continue to pay support for Kimberly while he was denied all rights to her. And this occurs to many fathers.
All right, thank you. You're becoming boring, repetitious, and dumb.
Thanks, Bob.
It's time to check in with Joe Nolan over there in the Metro Traffic Control Center.
We've got the latest on the Grand Central Parkway.
You're on WABC, hello. And Steinbrenner, if you're listening, if you don't like what I'm saying, take your games to another station. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Bob, I have a slight, small peroration to make, similar to one that the great Frank from Queens might make, except that it's on a slightly different topic.
Wait a minute, Joe. You want to know something, Joe?
Yes.
I must tell you, I want to give you a sabbatical. Take a vacation. I'm tired of your voice, and I'm tired of your putrid attitude. Joe, you're probably a nice guy, but you're a bore. You're boring. Tired of them. Why do I have to listen to the same people over and over again, for heaven's sake? Ben, you're on WABC. Hello.
How are you, sir? This is the first time.
How am I? I got to sit here and listen to Joe week after week with his pathetic, emasculated view of life. and you ask how I am?
So, let's see. Where are the women? I don't see. I see this at least.
In other words, it says I suspected, Joe. Your comment about Somalia was just a cover.
No, it wasn't.
You have this obsession.
It's not an obsession, Bob.
It is. It's an obsession.
Well, I want to be militant like this.
It's an obsession.
I want to be militant against the feminists. Don't you want somebody to be militant against the feminists, Bob?
I just get a little tired of your theme.
Yeah, but I'm tired of the feminists. I'd like to fight them. You don't want to fight them. I'm not tired.
I'm not interested in whether you want to fight them or not.
I want to give credit to men when it's deserved. I'm sick and tired of men being bashed.
You know what? I have a hunch you're probably a very insecure man, unsure of your masculinity.
Well, one day,
probably been rejected by. First of all, I don't think you've been. Well, to put it delicately, I don't think you've had it in a long, long time, if at all.
Well, that's not. You see, all of this is irrelevant, Bob.
It's not irrelevant. I'll tell you why it's not irrelevant. Because it's the reason you speak the way you do.
Yeah, but you see, the feminists have reasons too. Yet they.
Joe, I'm a little tired of this diatribe. Really, I'm tired of it. Joe.
Okay, Bob.
I mean, he's a Johnny one note. I mean, it's pathetic. It's just absolutely pathetic. The whole thing is pathetic. When I say the whole thing, I mean this program. You can see that once again, Slick Willie, and I guess he can't help himself. I guess it's just, he's like Joe, the caller just ahead of you. Joe can't help himself but talk about the fact that he is afraid of women. He can't get away from it. It's pathological. Well, it's also pathological with Slick Willie. You're on WABC. Hello.
Bob, I did not see the Giuliani interview with Marcia Kramer, but I've seen Marcia Kramer all summer, and I've left messages with CBS about the fact that Marcia Kramer is a perfect example of the double standard as applied to gender rather than race. She's a perfect recipient of all this largesse given to women. She's allowed to wear whatever she wants, her bouffant hairdo, her skirt halfway up her thigh, lipstick, makeup, all kinds of makeup jewelry.
Nothing's going to help her. Nothing's going to help her.
Yeah, but the men have to sit there like penguins in monkey suits with nooses around their neck, otherwise known as...
Right, you are. It's tough to be a man, right, Joe? Don't you ever get tired of a Johnny one-note theme, for crying out loud? Oh, Joe, the woman lover, yeah.
Oh, I have some other topics.
My foot. We're going to get around to your hatred of women any second now, I know.
No, not really. But
really?
Yeah.
You're a one-issue guy, Joe.
No, Bob, I'd like to say that, for example, the killing in Nanuet, nobody, especially the authorities, don't seem to want to make that a bias crime. Yet I want to know how many people out there suspect that the black criminal attempted to kill and killed one of the young boys because he was white. I mean, he may not have said it overtly, but I mean, do we doubt that he had this rage against white people that made him want to kill for no reason, just to attempt to kill these people? Does anybody doubt that it was a racial crime? But of course, nobody in power will ever say that. Unfortunately, nobody overheard him saying an overt anti-white statement, so he'll get away with it, and it won't be labeled a bias crime. Bob, what I'd like to say to the people who are wondering, what can we do? What can we do? Well, I think that, like you say, they have these other organizations such as the NAACP and the Rainbow Coalition and Aspira and all these other organizations. It's time that they become an organization devoted to either white people or black and white together, such as CORE. I don't understand why people don't either join CORE en masse, or else someone such as a Donald Trump or some white person become a white activist with money, form an organization called the National Organization or National Association for the Survival of Decent People or White People or American Values or something. And we need, you've got to organize. All these individuals out there calling up saying, what can I do? What can I do? You've got to organize. You've got to form a group to counter these other groups. These are pressure groups. We've got to have our own pressure groups. So I say either join up with CORE or someone start another group or some other groups. And finally, Bob, I'd like to have people thinking along this question here. They're talking about abstinence as far as condoms goes, having young people be abstinent. Why not, and I'm going to say this tongue-in-cheek, and then I'd like to respond to your response. Why not make sex between minors sex for anyone under 17, let's say, make that against the law, make that illegal. What do you think of that?
On WABC, we're forging ahead right here. And I have to laugh at Joe, how presumptuous he is. He wants to respond. I want to give a response to your response. There's nothing to respond to. When someone comes up with an inane, impossible, stupid, immature, puerile, childish suggestion, I would be just as childish, immature, puerile, and idiotic if I were to take it seriously and respond in kind. Having said that, I tell you that you're listening to the Bob Grant program on WABC, the longest 4 hours in the history of humankind.
Congressman, to help us with a situation in Rockaway Beach where they've taken...
I know, Bill, I know. Little Johnny one note, bump, 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 bump. Anytime Bill calls, it always winds up talking about his little domain there, Rockaway Beach. I'm tired of Bill's calls on Rockaway Beach. I'm tired of Joe of Brooklyn's calls, hating women. Jim of Brooklyn, who covers every communist meeting going on. Get a life, all three, you guys, will you? In the foot.
Just a show of force, not...
Yeah, right. I know that isn't why you called, Joe.
Okay, well, I just want to mention, and since we're talking about the earthquake today, I wonder if anybody, any women, any lesbians, any feminazis are going to say something in praise of men. I wonder what would happen to the Los Angeles area if it were left up to women to rebuild it, to protect it, to rescue people. I wonder if any women are going to say, gee, it's a male-dominated patriarchy. Or are they going to complain about that in the time that it takes to rebuild Los Angeles? You think you'll hear any of those Los Angeles feminists speaking out and complaining about men? I don't think so.
I don't think you ought to hold your breath. Thank you, Joe.
I'm not a Clinton fan by any means, but to attack Clinton as a draft dodger, I think, is an unfair attack, as it is to attack any man for being.
We haven't even discussed that for years and years.
No, but people always call him a draft dodger, and here's why I think it's unfair, Bob. I think we could have had a woman president, and we may have one in the near future, and no woman, Bob, was ever had to face a draft, much less be drafted. And, I think that it's rather inconsistent of us to allow women to have all the rights and to treat them as quote-unquote equals.
That's an absurd argument. That's an absurd reason not to call him a draft dodger. I thought you were going to come up with something interesting, but you came up with something pathetic. You're a misogynist morning, noon, and night, and everybody knows it. I mean, that's your raison d'etre. That's the only reason you stay alive, is to continue hating women.
Well, Bob, I give all credit to any man that volunteers to serve for his country, if he's patriotic or whatever, if he's brave. My hat is off to him. But, I'd like to know the reason why women were never drafted. And I think that...
one very good reason. They just aren't good for that.
Well, I think they could have served their country. I think they could have been, forced to do certain types of work in our...
Well, certain types of work is one thing, but being drafted to fight is another.
Well, they weren't even...
Well, look, we don't have it. Nobody's being drafted right now. And let's hope we never have to see a draft again. Thank you, Joe.
All right.
As misogynist Joe.
Like I said, the ultimate decision...
Did you use the phrase, like I say? That means you run out of new things to say. When I say, like I say, that means they've run out of... That's Joe, the misogynist. We haven't heard from Joe in a long time, but... he's still out there hating women. He's consistent, all right. Probably some broad said no to him years ago, and he never got over it.
Overnight, we got bimbos with badges, sluts with stripes, morphodykes in men's military colleges, bull dykes bouncing basketballs on a boys' team. We got women taking men's jobs, crying harassment, her ass in his establishment. Now they're framing us for illegitimacy. Bob, I don't agree with you that Joe is at fault for making the points that he makes. Joe from Brooklyn. I think that everything he said is on the money. I would just like to say that we should stop fixating on this coming out of the black community. It ain't the black guy's fault they got a stronger sex drive than the white. It's the Jews' fault for putting the broad in the short skirt that fed the abortion clinics in the law practice. And Joe is a...
get off the phone, you swine. Sick swine.
From Brooklyn.
Hey, Joe.
How you doing?
Oh,
Hey,
boy,
guys.
I knew you'd call tonight,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you got in early.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, I'm going to get out of the way and let you talk.
Yeah, Joe. How you doing?
I'm kind of, well, all right, you caught me a little here. Let's
What are you doing? Are you playing with your giggle stick there, Joe?
No, and you know something, James? I resent the innuendos, the constant innuendos with legs and you guys, and it goes into what I want to talk about as far as...
What do you resent about legs and us?
Well, what I'm saying
at least, can you at least say hello to legs? Show a little common courtesy?
Hello, legs. Hello,
Hi.
Joel. Hello, James.
Yeah.
You know,
He resents you, legs.
Really?
Yeah.
We're just having fun. We don't mean any harm.
yeah, but you see what's going on, really, and if men are really honest about it, they'll admit it.
Yeah.
Deep down, you see, the issue of sex between men and women
Legs.
is an issue that I feel...
I'm listening.
he doesn't-
I want to hear what he has to say.
He doesn't get any.
Let him talk.
All right, let him.
Yeah.
I
Let
know,
him
but
talk.
keep that in mind while you're listening to
Yeah.
this. This is a
It
guy
doesn't
that...
affect me.
This is-
If
I
he
know
doesn't
that.
get any, just let him
But he
speak.
doesn't get any time.
Okay.
Well, you see, all we hear about is rape,
Right.
Yeah.
and rape is a
not
very
all we hear
unusual
about.
circumstance.
That's not all we hear about. We hear about murders when murders happen.
Yeah, no,
we
what
hear
I'm
about
saying-
burglaries when burglaries happen. We hear about a lot of things when they happen. That's not all we hear about.
James, the point I'm trying to make is that we never hear about men's problems regarding sex. Now, men are subject to these constant innuendos, these constant teases by women. This is part of our daily existence, our constant existence. Now, biologically speaking, James...
Hold on 1 minute. Hold on one moment.
Yeah.
To those of you women listening, I love your constant innuendos, your constant teases. Tease me all you want. Play innuendo all you want. Slink to me, baby.
Well,
Slink
you know.
to me and tease me. I love being teased because I love women. I like guys, but I love women.
Yeah, but I mean, most heterosexual men love women by definition.
Okay.
I love women as well. But you see, first of all, you might not be as honest as you might be. Now, I mean, you may be getting, as you put it, James, you may be getting enough to keep you happy. But I'm sure that there are plenty of men that are not. Now, the thing is, the point I'm trying to bring out here is that women are in control.
I
of
work all the
situation.
time.
What's that?
Go ahead, come on.
Women
Go ahead.
run the show. Women have all the power when it comes to sex.
Yep.
Except for the one in a million times when they get raped. But they want to make it seem like men have all the power when it's the exact opposite. Now, to compound the situation, not only do they complain about their status regarding men, but they constantly they expect men to pay for them. As they want to be looked upon as the sexual celebrities. They're always prettying themselves up, making them look as sexy as possible, teasing men to the ultimate, and then complaining when one time, you know, 1 in a million chance that a rape occurs. They want to they want to use that
I know
to
what
say
you mean.
how violent men are.
How about this?
Men are.
How about if you met a woman like this, John? Would this make you happy? Goldie Hawn. This is her take on male-female relationships. Men and women continue to procreate. Wait a minute. Men and women
kidding.
are built... No, wait a minute.
That was profound.
I know.
Men and women procreate.
No. Men and women are...
whiz.
This is for you, Joe. You need this kind of girl. Male, female... Men and women are built so differently. The man can continue to procreate. That's really the problem. Men can make love and have a totally great release. She can leave the room and 15 minutes later... another woman will come in, and you men will get just as excited because it's the way you are made. I think women should understand that.
Well, thank you, Joe.
How about that?
I'm getting confused.
Goldie Hawn.
Thank you, Joe, because that's exactly what I want to talk about. That's exactly what I want to say.
Joe,
Joe. Women's view of the world.
Joe.
James, let me finish.
No, you did. You talked already. Let me talk now.
Poor guy. Poor guy.
You know what? I actually agree with you about something.
Yeah.
I do. I actually agree with you about something. I wouldn't, well, sort of. Women have most of the power when it comes to sex, and they should. And, Joe, they should.
Why should they?
Because they bear the babies. That's why.
Well,
No. I let you go through your whole thing now. Just be quiet and hish.
Right.
Hish. All right?
Yeah.
Women should have most of the power. Women should have the power to say no. Because the ultimate responsibility of procreation beyond men lies with the women. Men, historically, do not stay home and nest with the child.
Mm-hmm.
Women do. Men can go flit around from woman to woman to woman to woman to sometimes man, and back to woman.
And farm animals.
Oh,
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I can't handle it.
Go ahead, go back on the track. I'm sorry.
God almighty.
Well, I had to. You know, first of all, I would like to say the three of us in this room have an amazing amount of respect for each other. So
That's
if
right.
you're offended by anything, well, phooey to you, because we love each other and we have respect.
No, but
and
Lex,
that's what
I'm
counts.
saying that, Lex, you have power to manipulate guys. You know it.
Well, they have a brain, so they could not be manipulated.
Yeah, and if they
Alright,
think with the brain in the wrong place, it's their tough luck.
No, I'm saying
Yeah.
psychologically, women do damage to men all the time.
Am I damaging you right now?
Constantly. Because we have to live under what James says. Unfortunately, I guess for the sake of civilization, men have to live under this burden of constantly
What burden?
repressing their sexual
No, they
urges.
don't. That's why you have marriage. That's why you get marriage, or even some people
James.
don't even wait till then, and you have a natural relationship with a woman where you can, and hopefully with one woman, where you can have a decent sex life. But the idea that women have most of the power in a sexual relationship shouldn't be afraid of that. Of course they do. The sad part of our society today is that a lot of women have forgotten that, which is why you have teenage pregnancy at all-time highs, which is why you have this lack where you have women in some cases running around just as promiscuous as men tend to be in certain examples. Women do have most of the control of a sexual relationship, and they should.
Well, you see,
because sex is only one component of the relationship,
Yeah.
and this is what you forget.
No, I don't
Sex
forget.
is one component of
I
it.
know, I understand that, James. And
And in order for a woman to and the best thing a woman can do, by the way, to get the guy she wants sometimes, depending on the guy, especially if you're dealing with the guy with low-level consciousness, is to hold out and not give him none, until you make sure that he's the right guy for you. Hold out and nothing.
well,
And exert the power until you make sure that he has the intellectual, the spiritual,
They've
the
got
moral
the
component
most
to
to
be
lose.
with you.
Mhm.
Because women, Joel, you said it.
They've
Whoa,
got-
you know what happened here? Joel said it more succinctly than I did.
Period. The
Say
bottom
it
line.
again, Joel.
They've got the most to lose. Period.
Thank you.
Bottom line.
Thank you.
well, you know, it's a complicating aspect when you're talking about pregnancy. But if we can somehow get away from the pregnancy aspect and focus just on the sex alone, you know, I think,
Yeah, wouldn't you like to do that?
Yeah.
you know, because I think that's what we all are trying to do, basically.
You know what, man? You need to get a grip. First of all, you need to get some so you're not obsessed with sex. You know, by the time you're in your 40s, sex is not nearly as important as it used to be. You know, you're obsessed with it. Sex has a place in your life, but it's not like this overriding obsession.
Yeah.
You know, with you, it's sex, because you're not getting any.
Well, it's more than-
Get some sex, man. Have some sex. And have a normal sex life. Then you'll stop whining about women. Get some sex, man.
Yeah, get a real Joe.
But you have to appreciate a woman. You have to find a woman that you appreciate
Listen.
first. If I were a woman, I'd give you nada. I'm not going to listen to some guy whining and moaning all the time about how awful women are.
I know.
And then
I can't wait for Joe to get a
listen to you. Listen to you, Joe. You know, women are awful. Women are awful. Women are awful. I never get any sex. Women are awful.
Listen,
Women
Jeff.
are awful. Oh, stop.
If it wasn't for me, you'd never hear women being criticized in the air at all.
Well, that you do serve a useful role there.
Thank you. Can I say one thing?
Hey, Joe,
Yeah. And then we got to go.
Yeah, one thing about, I want Joel to comment. I want to hear his comment. But I just want to say about this Ridgewood, New Jersey case. I'd like to know this. How are we supposed to determine, how are the boys or the girl herself supposed to determine when the point is reached, when she gets, quote-unquote, drunk?
All right, I've had it. No,
forget it. No,
Joe, I've
give
had
me a
it.
break.
Goodbye.
14 years old.
Goodbye.
Jesus,
I am not going to take any questions
Unbelievable.
about 4 boys raping a 14-year-old girl.
I don't. Jesus.
I'm not gonna ask
Don't
any-
get me started, because I'll go off.
No.
And nobody
You're
goes
out of
off
bounds.
better than I can. Forget
You're out
it.
of bounds.
I'll lose it. I'll
When
freak
are we
out.
to determine? The girl was drunk.
Yeah,
Period.
great.
You don't rape a drunk woman. You don't rape little girls.
She's 14 years old. 14.
You don't rape women.
God almighty, get a grip. No, that's that. I don't deal with that. We don't.
We got to go to. Do we do the break already? I'm totally.
Yeah.
Let's do it now. I
That's
have
it.
totally lost my mind.
Let's